What's going on, everybody? This is your Kansas State Torracats here with week 1 of the GxP VGC Regulation I Inverse Draft League. This week we are going up against Banjacks and the San Francisco Bay Leafs. Here is the team that we brought to this week. As you can see, we have our Trevenant named Lancer. He's going to be our Trick Room setter, running Will-O-Wisp, Disable, and Knockoff. The reason that we need Trick Room this week is because their team has just such an insane speed advantage. Their Zamazenta outspeeds literally all of our Pokemon. So we kind of need to run Trick Room, and that's actually why we're not running Koraidon this week, because I don't think that Koraidon would work well in a Trick Room centric strategy. So we're leaving behind our restricted this week. So I'm a little nervous about that. Or I was a little nervous. The battles are done, and I'm going to review the battles later. But yeah. Supporting it is a Follow Me Clefable with Terra Rock, Life Orb, Magic Guard, and an offensive set. It's here to do damage. Starwalker the Sliggoo. It's here to be bulky with a Violite. Gothtel is a Choice Tricker, which is also meant to do damage. Krista Raging Bolt is another setup option, though in hindsight, I actually should have run an electric move here over Dragon Pulse. That was a mistake. And then lastly, I know why I ran Dragon Pulse. It was for Flutter Mane. But yeah. Anyways. And then my last Pokemon is Infernape. This is a really wild card set. This was only designed to beat the Flutter Mane. So anyway, as we look at the first battle here, let me cut the sound real quick. Muted. So yeah, right here. First turn. First thing that we see is that they left behind Flutter Mane, which is immediately an issue for me, because that means that I'm basically playing with 5 Pokemon, because I only brought Infernape as insurance against the Flutter Mane. So that's bad for me, but they don't know that that's bad for me. So we're leading off with Trevenant and Gothtel versus their Urshifu and Murkrow. I think in this first turn, I'm expecting them to go for the Surging Strikes into either the Surging Strikes or Close Combat into Trevenant, and then either Taunt or Tailwind. So I click Follow Me with they Terra Water, which I was not expecting, but I Terra Rock in order to live both Close Combat and Surging Strikes. They go for the Taunt and Surging Strikes, which is why I expected. It actually does a lot of damage just by being resisted, and that actually tells me that this is a Choice Band Urshifu, which I think is true, but I'm not sure. Murkrow sets up the Rain. I go for a knockoff, removing the Violite. Flamethrower is reduced by the Rain. Gets a lucky burn, which that's helpful. The burn actually doesn't help Trevenant survive, which sucks. But that much damage actually 100% confirms to me that that's a choice-banded Urshifu. Murkrow actually taunts Gothtel frame 1, but keep in mind that I'm actually choice specs. So that's part of the beauty of draft, is that, like, Gothtel normally runs this super defensive set, and like I'm very obviously running Trick Room. Like, I already went for Trick Room. So they would think, oh, I need to taunt this Gothtel in order to prevent it from going for Heal Pulse or another Trick Room later. But I'm just choice specs. So I'm actually really content with them taunting me, because I just locked into Psychic. They send in their last 2 mons, Gouging Fire and Zamazenta. Gouging Fire protects on turn 1, but I Terra Blast into Zamazenta, which does about 74%, which is what I expected. Body Press doesn't KO because I resist it, because remember, this is inverse. And then this turn, I need to talk about this turn. Hold on. So I need to talk about this. Gouging Fire just protected. It's exposed. Zamazenta is really vulnerable, because it's really weak. Either of my Pokemon can probably KO it. They don't know I'm choice backs. So they think, oh, Gothtel can probably KO it, even though I don't think I can. And Clefable can definitely KO it. It just dealt all that damage. So I'm expecting them to protect. So they protect, which I got it right. So I double into them with Flamethrower and Psychic, taking out their Gouging Fire. And yes, that is the same turn that Trick Room ends. I switch out Gothitelle, and they just let me take the KO with Terra Blast, dude. And we win game one. And I am already ecstatic about that because, this is my first ever draft battle. And I know that Banjax has experience in drafts. So for all I know, that they're a lot better than me. So I'm really happy to get that first win. Basically, the reason why my sets are so weird, you might have noticed my sets are really weird this week. And part of the reason why is because I feel like they have such an advantage over me just based off the team that I really think that the only way for me to win is for me to catch them off guard. So, and I think I did that. I think with the Terror Blast and Flamethrower, and yeah, I think I did a good job catching them off guard. But another thing I did a really good job is I kept information away from them. They never knew Clefable's item. They never knew Gothitel's item. The only item that they knew was Trevenant. They only saw two of Trevenant's moves. They never saw They never saw Clefable's last move. They only saw one of Gothitel's move. I did a really good job at withholding information from them this game. So I just want to highlight that as something that I did that I'm proud of. Game two. I had to turn off the sound. Sorry. So Trevenant and Clefable come in. Zamazenta frame one terastallizes, which is something that I was not expecting, and I should have followed me there. That was my first mistake. I was riding high off of the first win, so I was like, okay, I'm going to play a little bit recklessly, and I'm going to try to make some predictions, and I ended up failing those predictions. Like, they Thunderbolted, and letting Trevenant go down that turn. Spoilers alert, I lose this game one. But I'm going to keep covering it just to explain why I did wrong, and I might give some context for some decisions I make in game three. So this time I Thunderbolt, or this time I follow me, preventing their Thunderbolt from taking out Starwalker, and I go for an Iron Defense, though honestly, I don't really expect that Acid Armor. But honestly, I don't really expect that Acid Armor to help that much. Flash Cannon only did 60%, and honestly, at this point, I just needed that to know how much damage it would do. I knew that Raichu would protect this turn. Okay, I want to highlight this. They don't know that I don't have Thunderclap. That's why they protect it. For all they know, this Raging Ball has Thunderclap. They don't know that I don't have it. I go for a Snarl here. I think I was covering for a switch. I should have just Dragon Pulsed in hindsight. I should have had an electric move, period. But I went for Snarl here as they body press, which doesn't kill Raging Bolt, which is good to know that at plus 5 defense, their body press doesn't kill Raging Bolt. I protect this turn because I figured that they were going to attack into Raging Bolt, which they do, and I take out a Raichu with Flash Cannon. I do like that play. Out of context, that's a good play out of context. In context, it's not really that helpful. They take out Raging Bolt with Body Press, and Surging Strikes does a little over half. And I really need this Flash Cannon to kill Urshifu to have any chance, but of course it doesn't, so I lose on the next turn. Yeah. However, I did get a valuable piece of information, and that's not even at plus 5. Their body press only does about 26% damage. So in a 1v1 against Starwalker, then my Starwalker probably wins. As long as I have an Acid Armor boost, because their body press just doesn't do much damage. And I've only seen one attack out of this Zamazenta. For all I know, they might only have body presses damage. So while I did lose game 2, I gained a lot of valuable information, which I think is ultimately the goal in draft. And I'm going to mute the sound before I hit play on this one. Also, one thing that I do want to point out is I do know all of their Terra types. It doesn't come up often because they terrored Urshifu to just water in game 1, and then they terrored Zamazenta to normal game 2, and spoiler alert, they're going to terror Zamazenta again later in this game. But I just want to point out that this league is open Terra, so they actually knew all of my Terra types, even though I think I terastallized Clefable all 3 games, which was my plan originally. I didn't actually plan to terastallize any of the other ones. So I want to point this out. They led with Raichu and Zamazenta again. I switched back to my original lead. Or did I lead? No, I led these two game one. Or game two, sorry. I led these two each time. Uh, anyways, though I do think I switched their position. uh, anyways, they protect right away, and I'm going to go for follow me with Noel. I should have Terra'd here. That was a mistake on my end. I wasn't expecting a protect. I don't know what I was expecting. I should have Terra'd because if they just body pressed, then Clefable would have been dead. So that was a mistake on my end. Volt switch. So they switch out for Urshifu. And Lancer goes for Trick Room. I Terra Rock this turn. All right. So back up. Not that far back. So in this position, I know that from last game that they know from game one that Terra Rock, Terra Blast from Clefable into Zamazenta is a possibility and that can do huge damage. And so my thought process is they're going to Terrastallize Zamazenta, especially because they just protected. And Terra Rock, Terra Blast isn't going to do anything fancy. However, Terra Rock, Terra Blast into Urshifu will OHKO it. It won't OHKO if they Terra. But I'm confident that Zamazenta is going to be the Terra, and I know that Urshifu can protect because I'm pretty confident that it's Choice Band. So, I Terra Rock, Terra Blast, not into Urshifu. I Will-O-Wisp into Zamazenta, cutting its damage output, and to prevent... And keep in mind, I do know that's leftovers, so the burn also cancels out the leftovers healing. And then I OHKO Urshifu with Terra Blast before it can even get off an attack, as Zamazenta goes for a body press. Or sorry, not body press, Iron Defense. Gouging Fire comes in, which I am really worried about. They go for Protect. I knock off their leftovers, which means that Will-O-Wisp is now going to do chip damage. The 4-time super effective Flamethrower, which would have OHKO'd. I want to point that out. The Flamethrower would have OHKO'd because it did over half while the rain was up in game one. They protect against my Flamethrower, and their Body Press, despite being at +3 defense, doesn't OHKO Trevenant because of the Will-O-Wisp. And I get off a little bit of healing with Citrus Berry. They switch to Raichu. I disabled their Body Press, which keep in mind I think is their only attack. Flamethrower does about half to Raichu. So I switch out Trevenant here. The reason I switch out Trevenant is because I think Trick Room might be helpful later. And then also there's some details with KD that might help with MVP standing. So that I have reason to want to preserve Trevenant here. Plus, Trevenant's not threatening anything. I don't have a reason to keep Trevenant in. And if I don't have a reason to keep Trevenant in, I might as well switch it out. Although I should have switched out to Gothitelle here because if they had Thunderbolted into Sliggoo, then, which makes sense because, Trevenant's also weak to that. So, yeah, I should have switched to Gothitelle because it's not weak to Electric. But they do just protect, and they protect against my Terra Blast. So now I switch Clefable into Trevenant in order to protect it. Raichu. So Raichu tries to go for another protect here, which I don't really understand. I think that was a misplay on their front. They went for a Breaking Swipe, which actually confirms to me that they don't have a Fire move. Because if they did have a Fire move, they would have gone for it against Clefable. So they go for a Breaking Swipe, which does lower both their attacks, but I don't really care. And Flash Cannon manages to take out the Raichu because I know that it does over 60% from the game 2. So now they're down to just 2 Pokemon, and I'm regretting not bringing Scream Tail because I could have just Parasonged. Body Press plus Breaking Swipe do take out Trevenant, and I go for Life Dew. Right. Noel. Clefable comes in. They protect Gouging Fire and Iron Defense Zamazenta. Flamethrower does not connect, and I Life Dew in order to heal us both up. And then from here, I don't know it at this time, but my win is basically guaranteed. Because they don't have a fire move, or at least I don't think they have a fire move, they can never KO Clefable here. And Flamethrower always KOs Gouging Fire. We're going to see they're going to go for Breaking Swipe. Yep. So I take out their Gouging Fire in one hit with Flamethrower. And at this point, Starwalker solos both of them. Starwalker solos the Zamazenta specifically. I managed to take them out next turn with Terra Blast and Burn damage. But, they didn't even see what my last Pokemon is, dude. And, oh my gosh, it felt So I'm gonna just, yeah. And I took him out, and I win. And I'm so ecstatic about this win because this genuinely seemed like such a bad matchup, and I managed to pull through. And it's against someone who I'm pretty sure has like a lot of skill in VGC. They played really well. I think I out prepped them is a main reason of how I won. I think a big contributing factor is, like I said, the only way I was going to win is if I ran some really unorthodox sets. And that's what I did. And I think that's how I won, honestly. Clefable was undoubtedly my GOAT. She absolutely carried me. I think she got the majority of the kills. Uh, Gothitelle helped during the one game that it contributed to. Trevenant, even though it didn't get any kills, it did help out by setting Trick Room, even though it died in all three games. It's like Trevenant's going to really get score hurt. Like Trevenant's not going to do well in the MVP scoring because they score that with kills to deaths to assists to whatever. Trevenant's not going to do well in that because he died all three games, but he was the reason we won, honestly. Trick Room was necessary for that win. And then obviously Infernape contributed so much, absolutely necessary. I was a little disappointed that Raging Bull didn't do anything. I think I just didn't play well enough for Raging Bull to do well. I think if I had played smarter or had a different play style in these games, I could have let Raging Bull pop off. And I know how to use Raging Bull. I'm really good with Raging Bull. I just didn't use it very well in this game. Yeah. Next week we're going up against, I don't know. I think Chef Perry's Test Kitchen is the team that we're going up against next week. But that might be 2 weeks from now because we recorded this battle. We started this week early, basically. So, yeah. So it might be 2 weeks from now when we next see the next battle. But yeah, with that, I'm going to sign off. I will upload the video of just my raw reaction to the games. I'm going to make that an unlisted video, and that will be in the description of this one, so you can check that out. And yeah, I think that's all. Until next time, I don't know how to end videos.